Live Coach H podcast. This is going to be a special one for me. The previous athletes I got to sit down and interview, I didn't get to coach them in some type of a capacity, even though I worked with Sam over the several summers. But Nate Lopez is one of our best runners in state history, and I want to unpack a few things with Nate. Nate, we can go back, but let's start for now. November 26th. As you know, the setting was the Northeast Invitational, and it was the Champs Regional Cross Country Championships. And as we discussed earlier, Massachusetts had a great showcase, 2-3-6. You were 6 overall. And the trio of yourself, Sam Burgess, and Paul Bergeron made the state very proud with a gritty performance. Mm-hmm. And then you took your talents to San Diego Nationals, but I want to unpack some things because that wasn't your first national race. So when the first time I met Nate Lopez, let's go back to USATF 8th grade national mile. Outdoors, you just won your first major invitational. You were considered one of the best 8th graders in America. How did that shape out your mentality moving forward in your running career?
I think it was definitely like a good start, seeing as 8th grade was only my second year running. I started in 7th grade, so I was still pretty new to it, but seeing a lot of success early on definitely helped me like stay mentally in the sport, and just kind of going through that summer on the track and seeing the success that I could have really motivated me to continue into high school, and gave me good confidence going against guys who were 4 years older than me as a freshman.
Yeah, I totally agree. And like you kind of segued into my next question. Did you come in with a sense of urgency or any pressure or expectations, considering you're the 8th grade mile champion? Did you feel there was added pressure for you to deliver?
I would say probably not, because the jump in competition is so big from middle school to high school. Since in 8th grade, you're kind of the top dog in middle school, but then you kind of get reset to the bottom coming into high school. So I didn't put too much pressure on myself, and I just kind of went out there to see what I could do the first year of high school, and I think it went pretty well for me, and I gained definitely a lot of experience that year and just knowledge of how to race at the next level.
Why St. John's Prep? Why did you take your talents to St. John's Prep? Your family moved from, I believe, West Roxbury to Linfield. Why did you choose the Prep over any other school?
So the Prep just to me and my family seemed like a great opportunity academically, and on top of that came with good athletics. And I think we just saw that as a good opportunity. So we made the move starting my freshman year, and I really felt like a good part of the community, and just stuck with it. And the guys and all that on the team and just in the school overall are really good people, and it's a good environment, I think, for someone like me who's a developing student athlete.
Leading into my next question. So correct. When you got on campus at the time I was there, and we felt before you arrived that there were the pieces there to win a state title in cross country. How did the senior leadership of Noah Mooney, Connor Hughes, and George Nico, Declan Sheen help you transition into your freshman year on cross country specifically?
Yeah, those guys were definitely a big part of my transition into the high school scene. I did a lot of although I didn't race with them till really the later part of the season, 1 year divisionals, I did a lot of my training with them and workouts and all that. So really just getting to know them and hearing their experiences and what they've taken from their career at that point helped me kind of shape my view on all that, leading into kind of the bigger races. And then we eventually teamed up going into the divisional meet when I think that was my first race with the whole varsity squad, and we were able to pull out a win there, and that was definitely a big confidence booster going into the All-State meet the next week. And we weren't expected to win the next week, even through the very end of the race. No one thought that we won, and we were able to pull it off, even with Connor going down mid-race and having to improvise there. And after that, as a freshman, I definitely didn't realize like how special that was, but seeing those guys, like the way they reacted and all that, definitely showed me that they were excited and that it was something bigger than what I realized. And that's probably one of my like favorite moments from all of high school cross country.
Oh wow. Nate, that's probably one of my favorite moments in the sport because of, like you said, we got to unpack that. The Wellesley team at that time was the team to beat. And our number 4 man was Connor Hughes, and Hughes goes down.
Yeah.
And we're like, oh, man. But I'm happy because a kid that I had full confidence and faith in, Declan Sheen, just stepped up and had a great race. And when your 7th man can run like that, the prep with the dub. So I was very proud. The prep coaching staff was in tears. Athletes was in tears. I was proud of you guys. Yeah. I felt in that capacity while I was at St. John's, I tried to do my best to serve you in the capacity that I could. And this is just being honest. I felt that there was already a bunch of executive chefs. Like Coach Boyle's the GOAT, right? Then you have big shout out to New England Elite. So you have the New England Elite coach, Coach Boyle, Coach Lankow. Everyone's giving you, I guess, guidance and feedback. How did you filter through, I guess, potential messages or advice coming from different people? Because I just felt at that time, right? For me, I felt it may have been a lot because you had so much success with New England Elite. And I guess I was trying to not necessarily convince you like, hey, man, you're with the right team, with the right group of guys. I just didn't know if the message was getting misconstrued. Did having multiple coaches at that time, because I felt that you're not necessarily your allegiance, but you won your first big one with the New England Elite coach. So I felt that you trusted him, right? And I felt that the prep coaching staff had to earn your trust. Can we unpack that a little bit?
Yeah, no, you're definitely right about pretty much all that. Kind of the transfer from the club to a high school running team was a little different because before high school I was only on the club and we didn't have a school team. So at first I was definitely a little worried about the switch and kind of the coaching styles of the prep, because in high school there's definitely a big jump in kind of volume and just what you're doing overall. So at first I was a little kind of nervous to make that switch, and I was still kind of jumping back and forth from the prep and club each day. I would go to some of the club practices, even though I was part of the prep team. Compete in some of the club meets still. So
Yeah.
I was definitely torn between the two still, and it did take some convincing from the coaches to kind of stick with the prep. I know at some points I would stay after practice and talk with the coaches about kind of what I believed in for training, which I had learned from club, and then they would kind of give me their idea of training based on their past with guys like Steven, Tristan, all the talent that they've had in the past. But I think after winning that first championship with the prep in the cross country season, that definitely gave me some good confidence in what they were doing and what they had envisioned for me and the rest of the guys on the team. So after that, I'd say I was a little more kind of harnessed towards their vision. But I guess in sophomore year, after kind of COVID and all that hit, we didn't have the ideal seasons for track and cross country. So I did go back to the club for a little bit that year and didn't do indoor with the prep very much. I think I did a couple meets. But I think that's more just because of the circumstances. And then sophomore outdoor, I just locked it in with the prep because I thought there was a lot of kind of back and forth that was messing up my training in some ways, and I wasn't seeing the exact results that I wanted when I was trying to do a little bit of both. So I just decided I was going to go all in with the prep, and that outdoor season I won the 2-mile state championship outdoors, and I think that was a really big kind of booster for me in terms of where I was at with the school's training.
All right. So you got two of my questions. So I'm gonna go back to your freshman year, and personally, I was super excited because I'm about to go to my first national meet. So in the back of my mind, I'm like, all right, Nate's gonna go for the freshman mile win. Right, Nate's supposed to win the freshman mile when we were discussing that national champion in the freshman mile, and I was praying. I was like, he's gonna run with the boys in the 4x mile, so we can put, our 4x mile on the line. And then, unfortunately, like you said, I remember we were literally on the road getting ready to leave Boston, and we were looking at the news. It is funny. My wife. New Balance was the end of March. My wife may have told me mid-February, probably 2-3 weeks before the shenanigans. She was like, I'm pregnant. So I was like, oh, wow. So I'm thinking about going to New York because I'm like, oh, babes, I got to go to New York. Nate's about to win my first potential national champion is about to happen. I'm like, I got to go to New York. And that just never happened. And it kind of goes into my next series of questions of basically, we had the 4x mile on deck, you running the freshman mile, but then COVID hit. How did the pandemic affect you? Because you didn't have that end of indoor season that we were hoping for, and then everything shut down. How did that affect you mentally?
Yeah, I'd say there was definitely a lot of disappointment not being able to kind of finish out that freshman year the way I wanted to because of COVID. And definitely, luckily I was a freshman. I definitely felt for guys like Steven, Connor, Declan, and all the seniors who didn't realize that it was their last time in the prep jersey in that indoor season.
I know. Wow.
But I'd say I rebounded pretty quickly, and the club was definitely a big help with that because we were able to put together an outdoor track season that year. Even though COVID was going on, we had a small group that would practice outdoors every other day of the week, and that definitely kept me in it mentally, and training wise I was still getting in all the work. So I was grateful for the opportunities that the club provided throughout the pandemic, and then going into cross of sophomore year, we were still kind of going through the same stuff with COVID and all that, still keeping meets pretty limited. But I think at the prep, they did a really good job of kind of getting us in at least a couple days a week for some sort of practice, and really giving us the opportunity to perform at some of the meets that they held at Highland Park in Attleboro.
Yep.
And all that. So I think that was kind of the worst part of the pandemic, and overall, I think the way I got through it with the club and the prep was really kind of good, and the coaches handled it very well. So I was grateful for all that, and then as sophomore year began to progress, things got a little looser, and I was able to kind of get back to my normal ways.
So yeah, let's end on that sophomore year. So sophomore year, a lot of people didn't know that your sophomore class specifically, I was speaking to you guys, we were beating it in the head. Like we had the pieces to win the state title. And
Yeah.
to watch you and Charlie in that deuce that day is one of my favorite moments. You won with the 903. And then you got to say in the back of my head, I'm like, all right, Nate's about to smash 9 minutes. That's going to go into my next question. So sophomore year outdoor, we are the 2-mile state champion. And then it seems like junior year, we had some hiccups. Let's get into that. Little injury. I don't want to use the term you questioned yourself. I want to use the term self-doubt. But, you know, I think where I'm trying to get it as athletes, I think kids can learn from this particular question, because you had your high, right? Freshman year, sophomore year, then boom, I felt junior year was kind of like a low. How did you respond in all the adversity that felt like your junior year? Is it safe to say that was the year in high school you felt with the most adversity? Is that safe to say, junior year?
Yeah.
And if you don't mind, what were the struggles that you were dealing with junior year?
Yeah, I mean, coming off kind of that high of winning the state title and outdoor of sophomore year, and then I had a really good summer after that. I think I ran every day without any problems, so I was really confident in kind of where I was, and I was feeling really good. And then I know at one point I had kind of strained some part of my back or something when I was doing like weight training, which didn't last too long, but kind of I think spiraled into me missing some parts of my training and strength training because I was trying to lay off of it, and then developing into more of like an IT band sort of injury or discomfort, which held me out for a good portion of the season. I had tried to run through it for a couple weeks at the early point in the season through like the Manhattan invite. And then eventually it got to a point where it was too much and I wasn't really getting enough training and it wasn't worth it to run anymore. So I took a little bit of time to just reset and built my way back up in the 5-ish weeks before the state championship, because I really wanted to be able to get on the line with all the guys who were on the team at the time, and really just put my best foot forward for them to try and get that second title. So we ended up taking it pretty slow and building up back to the end of the cross season, and I was able to kind of lead the team with Charlie at the front and score some low points for the guys, and we were able to get the team win there. But there was definitely a good amount of disappointment with just the way that season went, not being as fit or healthy as I wanted to be, and I got 49th or something at regionals, which was definitely not what I wanted. And seeing what Sam was able to do, and seeing that he was able to qualify for the national meet was definitely tough, because I think I was on track to do that at the beginning of the season, and then things just kind of derailed and I wasn't able to do it. But I was doing better at the time, but then I developed a stress reaction in my shin kind of at the end of cross, during like that last week getting ready for regionals, which then carried into the winter season, where I ended up just taking all of December off of running, because I didn't want to have that reaction develop into a fracture in my shin. So we just decided to take it safe, and I took all of December to just kind of bike and swim, and keep all the pressure off of that. And then kind of starting the new year, this was probably my lowest point of the year, because I was at essentially zero running wise, and I was kind of faced with the challenge of getting back not only to kind of where I was at the end of sophomore year, but then also trying to improve, and kind of match guys like Sam and everyone else who was doing really well at the time. And it was definitely a long process. I took a lot of indoor to just kind of build up, and very slowly got there, even though it was pretty long, because after not running for a month, everything's sore after like a 10-minute run, and I was definitely struggling to get back. But by the end of indoor season, I was at, 30 miles a week and just a lot of easy running. And I was running well. I was running mid 420s for the mile off of just kind of easy running every day, and I was able to compete. So it was definitely a step in the right direction. And then we really just took we skipped nationals in March, and just trained through the whole month to really bump up the training. And I got up to about 50 a week, which was probably my peak for the rest of the outdoor season, because we just wanted to be a little safe and make sure I was going to stay healthy. So we stayed around there, and then I was able to get a lot of good workouts in, and kind of refined my my fitness from the year before, and definitely a lot of confidence, being able to really finish runs and finish big workouts without a lot of pain or any distress at all. So going into that postseason and being able to come out with a win at the state meet again, even though I know Sam was dealing with a little injury and not getting a lot in, it was definitely still a confidence booster to get that win, and see that I was on the way up from where I had been before. But yeah, that was kind of the journey that it took, and I'd say more stressful than like the training and all that itself was also like the college process, and the fact that after sophomore year I was pretty highly recruited by pretty much all the top teams in the country, and I had my options pretty much laid out for me as long as I could kind of hold together another good season in junior year. That kind of slipped away from me after being injured for so long, and it was definitely harder to get over that fact than being in the physical area that I was in and recovering from that. So all that together was definitely the hard part, but I think those kind of failures and the way that I got up from them are things that really shape like who I've been this past season and throughout the summer, and I think I'm in a really good spot now, and a lot of confidence seeing that I've gotten past that.
Yeah, I would definitely agree with it. Obviously I wasn't around at the time. Always with you, Nate. You know, I'm always with you. You're my guy.
Yeah.
But I just felt I was like, all right, last year outdoors, I was like, oh, 9 minutes is getting smashed. We have too many boys here that are super talented. We're going to probably watch one of the best 2 mile races ever. And I still think that's going to happen. That's down the road. But you kind of led into my next series of questions was what I got. Yeah, it was 906, but it was still the win. Like you ran 903 as a sophomore for the dub, 906 as a junior. I didn't really look at the time per se. I just think I felt what I took away from knowing you, I was like, he got it back up here. Like he went for the win. Yeah, other kids were fast, but at that level, a win is a win. And you were the back-to-back 2 mile champion. So I was very proud for you in that moment. And then you led into my next question. My main man, the Olympian Kevin Sullivan. Coach Sullivan was an amazing competitor himself.
Yeah.
I'm happy to hear that Coach Sullivan still had you in here after what happened junior year. Can we talk about why Go Blue? Why Michigan? Why Coach Sullivan? What did he do that for you and the Lopez family felt like, yeah, I'm going here?
Yeah. So actually, I started talking to Coach Sullivan pretty late, probably mid-summer, early summer. So this was a little bit after all the injuries and kind of after I had made my way back. And I still talked to him about kind of how junior year went. He was very understanding of kind of what happened and understood that that's just kind of what happens sometimes, and there's not sometimes a whole lot that you can do about it. And that was something that I was really kind of appreciative to hear, and was a good sign, because I think going through the ups and downs of junior year showed me that some schools may just write you off because of an injury or a setback, and I feel like those are the kinds of schools that I wouldn't really want to be a part of, and I think it kind of narrowed it down for me, because realistically in college there's a higher chance of you having a setback than not at some point, and I want to be somewhere where they're really going to kind of back me up and help me through that, as opposed to just kind of throw me to the side and take the next guy. So seeing that Coach Sullivan was really kind of supportive of my journey back was something big for me. And I then took the visit out to Michigan and got to spend a couple of days out there with guys like Kyler and Miles from Massachusetts and all the other guys on the team. And that was definitely a team that I felt like I gelled with really well. And the school is an amazing school academically, athletically, and just just the area is somewhere that I feel like is somewhere that I really like, and I think it just felt like kind of home to me after I returned from the trip and looked back on it. So we decided on Michigan as a good place for me to kind of get the most out of my academics and athletic opportunities.
You will. You will definitely be pushed there, and Coach Sullivan is one of the GOATs, an amazing coach, an amazing athlete himself. So yeah, I'm glad that coach didn't give up on you. You know, this is not an opportunity to throw colleges under the bus, but I seen that I actually had to give Sam Burgess the same speech. I didn't tell Sam, I said, Sam, like when you look at the football players and the basketball players, they're getting NLIs, right? What you and Nate are like the best basketball, equivalently the best basketball player. Big shout out to Jonell, but there's no difference.
Yeah.
The best is the best. The way people treat Jonell is not the way they treat you two. Right? Jonell's the man. But like these guys like kind of like wrote you and Sam off some of these schools. And I'm like, no. You're not writing off 903 sub 9 minute guys. Not from my state. So I gave Sam the same speech, and I'm glad that you guys ended up going to schools that appreciated who you are and saw your resiliency and your upside as a student first and an athlete. So I'm very happy that Coach Sullivan saw through that. So these are some of the questions that now you do know, because I already went through them with other guys. So now we've went through the whirlwind of junior year. It's senior year. Yeah. You're at VCP on November 26th. You have just punched your tickets to Natties. Let's talk about that. Because now everyone has heard your journey, the trials and errors, the adversity. And then now you know you're going back to nationals. Let's talk about that. What was that feeling like at VCP?
Yeah. Definitely a feeling that I'll probably never forget, just because of kind of where I came from junior year. And then I worked really hard over the summer with guys like Paul, and unfortunately Sam was hurt. Like he said, dealing with a little bit of setbacks, but he did come out for a run or two, and we kept some contact over the summer. And but I just worked really hard over the summer and throughout the season, and did a whole lot of running with Paul, and we talked about kind of the idea of making it there together, and we were hoping that Sam would get back to where he was so that we could go as all three of us, and then kind of to finish out the regular season and the state postseason with some good performances, and seeing that I was pretty close to those guys definitely gave me confidence. And we met up at the all-state meet at like the awards, and said we were all going the next week to Van Cortlandt, and that we were excited to make it as a trio, hopefully. So to kind of to line up with them at Van Cortlandt, and then go through the race, and coming down the last stretch knowing that all three of us had made it was definitely a really good feeling. And just knowing that I was going to go to nationals again for the first time in a while, and with some of my best friends from the running community, was
gotta love
definitely a really special moment.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I had just, my birthday is November 27th. So I was pre-birthday shenanigans. And when the texts were coming in, I was like, no way. No way. All three made it. I was so happy. Happy dude, man. I'm very happy. I think you touched on it a little bit. So it was your first national trip since 8th grade, per se. Now you're back in San Diego. What did you specifically take from being in San Diego at the national meet. What did you take back from that experience?
Yeah. So I'd say I didn't have the race that I would have liked to. I know Sam and Paul had pretty good days. I think they were definitely happy with how they performed. They were both All-American and had good runs. I was 29th, and I didn't. I'd say I didn't feel my greatest on the day, but I think kind of what I really did wrong was just put myself out of it right at the beginning, and I'd say probably doing what Sam did the year before, which he definitely learned from this year, and I was out in maybe second to last or last through like the 800 mark. So I was definitely looking back on it and thinking that I should have just, I mean, it's senior year. I'm already kind of committed to a college. There's no risk of if I fail. So I'd say the biggest thing looking back on it was that I was probably a little too
complacent, hesitant a little bit. Yeah, because
too.
At a KN, I'm like, where is Nate? I'm looking at the screen. I'm actually with Priyanka and I think Caroline Collins. They were at the Speed Classic of Winterfest. They come up to me like, Coach, it's on. I pull up. I'm streaming. First K goes by. I'm like, all right, there's Nate. Wait, why is Nate back there? I'm screaming at the screen. Nate, you gotta get up there. But hey, it's all worth it. It's the experience that matters. And for all those kids that did potentially beat you that day, they better look out because we're coming for their heads real soon. And we have another 4 years. Yeah. Those guys are in trouble.
The next time.
Yeah, those guys are in trouble. I got so much time left. I get back to my desk. But New York bestseller. New York Times is going to write a book. The best authors in America sat down with Nate Lopez. And they're going to write a book about your high school career. Mm-hmm. What is the title of the book called?
Mm-hmm. See, I try not to think about it too much, but I'm kind of even with Sam.
I know.
I'd say a decent one would be sort of falling towards success. That'd be the title. I think that kind of outlines my view of like you have to go through some sort of failure or some sort of setback in order to learn how to be better at what you do. And I think that's something that I've gone through last year and in the past before, and definitely something I think about a lot is like the big failures or disappointments that I've kind of overcome and stepped up from shape where I am now, and I've learned a lot from kind of all of that, and I put it into what I do every day now, and it's definitely shown a lot of success thus far, and I think there'll definitely be more disappointments or underperformances in the future, but I think there'll be also even greater achievements and successes that come with that.
Comes with it. It comes with it. I agree with you 100%. I've been putting this energy out there. I believe we're going to see the greatest 2-mile race potentially in Massachusetts history. We just missed it last year, but you know I'm rooting for it this year. I'm thinking 4 to 5 guys sub. Like 906 won it last year. 903, like I don't think 903 can win it this year. If it does, it does. It's a tactful race. But I like you,
Yeah.
Ryan Sarney, Sam Burgess, Paul, and I would like Aiden to jump into that mix. I think that'd be a good race. We could potentially see 5 boys break the 9-minute barrier. I don't think Massachusetts has ever seen that. So that's hopefully a little preview, ladies and gentlemen. Hopefully that we can see that. 2 questions before I wrap it up. Why is it important for someone to be subscribing and following Coach H. Live?
Yeah. I mean, to be honest, Coach H is a very influential figure, in my opinion, to the whole Massachusetts running community. And I know since I was a freshman until now, and going forward, you're definitely someone that I look forward to seeing at all the meets and just in general around the community. And I know a lot of people are very excited to see you at meets. They're like, hey, that's Coach H. He's kind of that guy around here. And I definitely think that some of the things you do for the community are very important as well to follow. I know I showed up to one of the meets that you held in Boston at Franklin Park in the stadium. And I think to kind of see what you were putting on there for all the younger kids who are kind of getting into the sport is definitely something that's inspiring, and to see kind of your intentions for the community are very good to see for the future. And I think a lot of people can learn from what you do for the Massachusetts running community.
We talked about it. My 2 favorite Nate Lopez moments. I'm going to go indoor freshman sophomore meet, your first mile, like our first execution win. I love that. And then like I felt I want to say, was it Baby Coaches? I don't know what it was, like, but the meet before, I watched you and Charlie cruise to 438 first mile, and I was like, oh, wait a minute, these guys can win it. And then the next week, 903 for the dub. So I was like, that's my favorite Nate Lopez moment. And then that's individually. And then I definitely, I gotta say, your 906, from what I knew, what was going on up here and in here, to see you conquer those demons, that might be probably my favorite moment, because I knew you had your back against your wall, and I saw like that was your first like adversity, and you handled it well. In short, well, can I ask, what is your favorite moment between you and I over the years? What was your favorite Coach H moment? Because we've had a few.
Yeah. I gotta think. I know, I guess this wasn't like a crazy moment, but I was watching through kind of like old videos from Bay State and interviews the other day, and I saw, I'm guessing this was our first interview together. It was freshman cross country at
Franklin Park.
I think the
CMI. You won CMI, right?
Yeah, I think so.
I think it was CMI.
That was like my first experience with you, and looking back on it, it was something that I just thought was pretty cool, and from there we kind of built our relationship up to now. So I think it was just cool to look back at kind of where it started.
Wow, I appreciate that. Oh man, Nate, I got to get back to the desk. My day job, I'm the office manager for Boston Public Schools. I take care of all the teachers' benefits. So today was my only day of work this week, because I had Holiday Challenge on Tuesday, Distance Classic yesterday. So I'm going to get back to the JOB, take care of our teachers. But Nate, it's been a pleasure.
Yeah.
Truly, truly a pleasure. And it's people like you I get to use as a point of reference. And people like you, Sam and Paul, when the world we thought was caving in 2020, I knew the world was in good hands because I knew people like you were coming. You, Charlie, Paul Lovett, Felix, all the kids that I knew at St. John's Prep, kids that worked really, really hard. So despite what was going on in our country, domestically, internationally, I knew there was a group of kids that worked really, really hard because I saw you guys every day work really, really hard. So I believe that our country's in good hands. And, you know, I just wanted you to know you're one of my favorite athletes that I've ever coached, and I've had an opportunity. I'm glad that I can say that I've coached Nate Lopez. It's something that I'll be able to tell my son. So, Nate, it's been a pleasure. Tell your parents happy holidays. Give Coach Boyle a big hug for me, and I will be seeing you. Probably state relays.
Yeah, I'll be at state relays.
State relays. I mean, Paul, you.
We might challenge that DMR.
Yeah, I'm thinking in my head. I'm like, they got the pieces. Maybe Aliberti in the 400. Dylan, maybe. We'll see. I'm just trying to think who'd run the 8. Paczynski?
Yeah, we're going to try. Maybe Paczynski,
yeah.
We're going to try and put something together, and hopefully we can give Westford a good run.
Oh, it's going to come down to the anchor. It doesn't matter. The 4 and the 8 can be, you know, kid runs 2 flat, kid runs 2 flat, someone runs 51, someone runs 51. It's going to come down to the 12 and the anchor, which both of you teams have good 12 and anchors. Give the guys special shout out, your parents special shout out. Nate, I appreciate you. Ladies and gentlemen, we're wrapping up. We are live, Coach H, with one of the best athletes in our state history, Nate Lopez. He'll be taking his talents to University of Michigan. We're looking forward to see Nate in that 2-mile championships NBI. And hopefully Coach H will be in the building on a special VIP access because New Balance is coming to Boston. And there should be no reason why that the national meet is in my backyard and I'm not there in any type of capacity. We have some things in the work. We'll see real soon what happens. But Nate, it's always been a pleasure. Talk to you soon. Peace.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Always. Peace. All right, let me